My name is Chris Woodruff. I'm the retired Weld County Assessor. I had a 40-year career in property tax and property valuation, retired in 2018. But my experience with Adeo started about 12 years ago. And right now I'm the secretary for the board of directors. So I've had various positions on the board, but I've really enjoyed the time with Adeo and the things that we have gone through over the last 12 years to try to strengthen the organization and continue to serve the people that we serve. I actually knew the founder of Greeley Center for Independence, Hope Cassidy, and then I knew her successor, Kathy Van Soest, who was also the executive director after Hope retired. And it was Kathy that asked me to join the board 12 years ago. We knew each other from our experience in the Centennial Rotary Club, and she thought maybe with the kind of experience I had in Rotary and some of the other things I'd done in the community that I would make a good board member for Greeley Center for Independence. And so at that time I said yes, and that's how I first got involved with the organization. Kathy remained the executive director for a couple more years, and then we went through the selection process for Sarita Reddy, who is our current director, and I've been on the board ever since. There were some, I think probably the most impactful, and not necessarily in a positive way initially, was some of the hard decisions we had to make about changing some of our lines of activity. Things that we were no longer really able to provide at any kind of economic level because the environment of healthcare had changed and the environment of the kinds of services that we provided had changed. One of the things I would say about Greeley Center for Independence and Hope Cassidy was that she was very visionary in the time that she began this. There were not a lot of services in this community in Greeley for people with disabilities, and Hope said, let's do something about it, and she set that up. As time went on, we started having a lot more providers to provide services to people with disabilities. And it became more and more difficult to be able to provide all the things that was originally envisioned as far as what we could do at Adeo. And we had to make some hard decisions about really winnowing down what our vision was so that we could be the best at what we do for the people that we serve and could be sustainable. And that's one of the words I've always used as a member of the board is, how are we going to be sustainable? What is this organization going to look like in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? And if we are not able to be sustainable, who will then provide the services that we are uniquely able to provide? And that's kind of what I'm excited about moving on into the future with the things that we're doing with people with brain injuries. As a member of the board, you're looking at all of whatever your lines of activity are and looking at the economics of each of those lines of activity. Are they sustaining themselves? Are they making you a little bit of money? Not even as a nonprofit, you can't continually go in the hole and still be able to open your doors. So it was a question of, spending several years looking at all of those lines of activity and deciding whether or not what we were doing in that particular area was sustainable. And after much thought, after really trying a lot of different ideas on some things, we had to make some hard decisions about letting some things go. We had one property that we had and it was originally intended for students with disabilities near the University of Northern Colorado campus. But the building itself had a lot of problems as far as infrastructure stuff with it. It was going to require a huge amount of investment to keep it viable. And what we were finding was that we were really not serving students with disabilities. We wound up being more low-income housing, and it was not profitable in that it didn't pay for itself. It wasn't even breaking even. So we had to make the decision to let that property go and sell it to an individual who did have the resources to change it and keep it as low-income housing and do the kinds of things that were needed to benefit the community. But we didn't have the capacity to do that. And so we had to let that go, that idea that, maybe we could be a provider of specific kinds of services to students with disabilities wasn't in our bandwidth anymore. So that was one of the things we had to make decisions on. We had to make the same kind of decisions with providing home health care, with providing the pool and all of the therapy and all of the things that we were doing in that arena. When we started it, It made sense because there really weren't a lot of other places that were doing it, but it just became too expensive for us to maintain that going into the future. And it was so expensive that had we not made a decision to move in another direction, I'm convinced that we would not exist as an organization at all. And so those were some hard board decisions over many years, and a lot of visioning went into, what is it that you do really well? What services can you provide to the people that you serve that you can really be the best at? And we came to understand after several years that we were really good at providing services to people with brain injuries. We knew how to make that happen. We knew how to make a good environment, a great community for folks with acquired brain injuries and their families, and could really have an impact on a community of people that are not really talked about a lot, but a lot of people can join in ways that they never realized they could. It's an accident. It's any number of things that can cause that to happen. And so that was the reason that we let some things go and have now really focused on serving people with brain injuries. It's really exciting to be at this point. We are ready to expand our actual physical plant. Right now, we have the capacity to serve 19 people with brain injuries in Northern Colorado, and we're the only provider of that service in Northern Colorado. We are getting ready to move another one of our properties that will now be able to have 31 units that will be devoted to people with brain injuries. And it's going to be a little bit different of an environment. This will be able to provide a little bit more independence for people with brain injuries if their particular circumstances and their families and their case managers agree that they are good candidates for that kind of environment. The thing that I like the most about what we do is that it's not so much that we provide services for people or take care of them, which we do, but we work with them. We're partners with the people with brain injuries and their families and their caregivers. And one of our core philosophies, and this is what's always been really, really important to me, is that we help them live the best lives that they can with the greatest degree of decision making around their own lives. That doesn't change for people just because they've got a brain injury. People still want to be able to have the greatest degree of say possible in the kinds of life that they live. So if they want to go out and get coffee and they're able to, they want to be able to do that. If they want, some of our people we serve actually have jobs and they're able to do it within their limitations. All of that is important, and we provide that kind of supportive service to allow them to do that. And that's really important to me because it's not like we are custodial and once you're in our building, that's all you get. We're always looking for ways to make this the richest life experience for folks, whatever their specific circumstances are. What I would say is that, especially if you're working with folks that need help, you've got to have a compassionate heart, and that's got to be first and foremost. For all the business things that you look at, for all of the, kind of business related activities that you bring to it and all of that, it's got to start with, first of all, compassion for the people that you're working for and respect for the people that you're working with and their families. And so it's always a reminder that we are not better than anybody. What we have are some things and some skills that we can bring to the table that may make a significant difference in somebody's life. And to be able to bring that to the table and offer that to some folks that really need it is a really wonderful thing. And I think it's always that reminder, you're in it to be a servant, it's not that it's going to somehow enhance you. And I'm not building a resume since I retired in 2018. I'm not building a resume to impress anybody. I'm doing this because it brings me joy, and it truly does bring me joy. And the people that we serve bring me joy. And that's one of the things that I find the most amazing. I have seen examples of just pure joy from some folks that have some profound limitations, but they can communicate, and to be around them is something that just makes you smile, and it reinforces for you why you do the things that you're doing because of the difference that you're making in their life. Well, one of the things they could certainly support our Walk, Run, and Roll fundraiser that's coming up this summer. We've had this now for this, I think, the 11th year, and it's a race, and it's called Walk, Run, and Roll because it also allows people who are in wheelchairs, whatever levels, they can come and be a part of that. And we do it now virtually, so it's over a 2-week period, and you track your own time, and you hopefully will get on to our social media platforms and let people know what you're doing and have that ability of doing something together as a community, and then come together with us in September for our celebration of that Walk, Run, and Roll process. So we're always looking for sponsors for that. We're looking for people to help support that and support people who are going to be walking it. It's not a huge commitment. I think the other thing that you can do is be sure and let us know if there are folks that you know of that may be looking for some services for brain injuries. A lot of times people don't know where to go and get that information. And so they can always reach out to us. If it's not something we can deal with, we may have some other resources that we can help them with, but that's another way that they can support us. And, if they have the bandwidth, I think we've got a couple of board positions that are open that we're always looking for people that have a heart for service like that to join us, bring their skill set, and help us continue to grow this. I would love to see, and again, I'm always thinking about what's the organization going to look like 10, 15, 20 years. I think there's models out there for the providing services for people with brain injuries that we haven't even thought of yet. And there be maybe new ways and new opportunities for us to continue to grow this community in new ways and provide that kind of great community experience for folks that have brain injuries, and again, the community of their loved ones, the care managers, the people that care for them. They're significant people also. That's a way that the people can continue to support us also. Well, I'm going to continue on the board. We're just embarking on a major renovation of one of our properties. It's probably the biggest project we've taken on in at least since I've been on the board, and we're transforming Hope Apartments into a wonderful addition to our campus for people with brain injuries. I'm really excited to watch that happen. I'm excited to, as we begin the process of searching for our new residents, and that will be a process of searching and assimilating so that it really will be able to form a community. I'm looking forward to seeing which of our residents now at Stevens Farm may be able to fit into Home Apartments and make that change in their life and open up some other places for other people to come into Stevens Farm. And so it's really exciting. This is going to be a significant project. It'll be a couple of years before it's all up and running, but we're really excited. We feel like we've turned a page. We've left some things behind that needed to be left behind. And I think the future looks really great for us and the things that we're doing for folks in Northern Colorado. I'm really excited about it. Santa and we're kind of alter egos of each other. I've had the incredible pleasure over the last several years of being Santa for the Christmas party at Stevens Farm, and my wonderful wife, Carolyn, comes as Mrs. Claus. And so we get to come and pass out the gifts to the residents, have lunch with them, visit with them. That is always the highlight of our holiday season, and I just absolutely love doing it. It's hard to tell you how much joy that brings me, and I look forward to that every year, being able to do that for them, and I've gotten to know people through that and gotten to know our residents through that, and it's a special bond that we have. Got a young man that it was his first year with us, and the first thing he did was take us both up to his room as Santa and Mrs. Claus and see all the things he'd put on his wall and all this, how he'd organized his bedroom. And it was really wonderful to see that. Just to see the joy and be able to bring that joy to them is unbelievable. And I'm looking forward to continuing to be able to do that as we go forward.